Prof, good evening, and thanks for your time to explain about the former president's options. What does he have at the moment? He just could apply for leave to appeal, is that it?
Yeah, well, he has an option to apply for leave to appeal, or he could let this go through to trial, because he has always been saying that he wants to, see the inside of the court and have these issues ventilated. And I think in that regard, it will be proving very well that his declared intention to see this come to an end will actually come to fruition if it goes through to trial.
Okay, well, if he does go on trial, what are the complications you see possibly arising in this case because of the time frame that has passed since all of this initially came out? We're talking about here evidence that that would have to be sifted through, witnesses that might not be available, or witnesses who memories might be a bit tarnished at the moment. What do you see as the complications?
Well, definitely, some of those things that you mentioned are actually complications, but we know very well that most of the evidence relating to a lot of charges that will be leveled against him were contained or were part and parcel of the arms deal inquiry, and that information is all there, even though most of it has not been interrogated, as the Constitutional Court has said, when it was setting aside the arms deal findings. But the fact is that information is there, and it can actually be interrogated, and people who are still alive who can be able to give evidence will be called to give evidence. And I think to that extent that it will be something that can still be done. And the assertion that it cannot be, it cannot meet the requirements of justice may be far-fetched. Because when you look at it, the information is there. All that needs to be done is that information has to be verified and be tested in the court of law.
Now, he's always said that, all of this was because of political interference. All of this was to get at him. Now, the court is saying that there's no case that has been made to support that. But do you still see that him and his legal team might still play on that they might still try?
It is likely that they will try it, but I don't know if it will ever, succeed, because, on the basis of the law itself, they couldn't satisfy the requirements of Section 342, capital letter A, of the Criminal Procedure Act, which is supported by the case of State versus Brooks, which merely, if the interests of justice are not going to be served by setting the case aside, merely because there has been a time lapse, that will not, stand if the interests of justice, the interests of justice are such that they supersede the allegation or the assertion that the time that has been spent in trying the matter has been long. But at any rate, that information is still available, and for us to say that because the time has been the time that has been spent is long, therefore will prejudice the accused, is actually not founded in law. If the law can be, if the interests of justice will still be met, then that would be the superseding requirement.
Now, we've long, most of South Africa, I would think, except for Jacob Zuma supporters, have long wanted a trial. We've long wanted answers to this because, we saw Shabir Sheikh take, the fall for certain things as well, not to say that he's innocent, but, we've long wanted to have some answers, and we've wanted Jacob Zuma to have to answer to a lot of things. But, will the court, what will be the balancing act here for the court? Because finally you get the man in court. Do you make an example of him? Do you play to what South Africa has wanted? Do you, or, just how do they balance this out? Because there's been some overwhelming evidence here against him and allegations.
Well, the courts will have to make sure that the integrity of the justice system is maintained. We all know that even though we are saying all of us wanted to see this in court, Mr. Zuma himself also said he wanted to see this in court so that he can prove his innocence. And I think the courts will realize that the interest of justice will supersede any other consideration. And I am pretty sure that when it goes to court, the courts will want to vindicate the justice primary consideration of the justice been upheld in South Africa, and also showing very well that no matter what happens, regardless of the supporters of Zuma who may come and say that they don't see justice being done, they will want to prove that in fact they apply the law without fear, favor, or prejudice.
Who do you see him taking down with him? Who should be afraid out there at the moment?
I think with regard to the arms deal related charges that are going to be ventilated in court, a lot of people who were in the administration at the time when he was, at the time when he was the deputy president and even when he was the president, all of those who were in the administration at the time should be concerned, because he knows that he cannot go down alone. He will probably go and say, these are the people who, like he has done in the Commission of Inquiry, mentioning some people. He may come and mention people in order to make sure that he doesn't go down alone.
Okay, well, let's see what happens when this, and I doubt that any application for leave to appeal is going to be successful in this case, because it's just going to be wasting more time. Prof, thank you very much for that insight there. Professor Tshepo Mongalo, just bringing us just some insight there into what could possibly happen when Jacob Zuma actually goes on trial.